Margaret, I know Terry had some, she was bringing her husband to the airport, so I think she was gonna try to make it back. I haven't heard from her. IT is ready.
Okay.
IT is ready.
Okay. Hey, Mark.
Contact.
Okay, good evening. This is the Thursday, January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Capital Improvements Planning Committee. We're at the Public Safety Complex at 576 Main Street by the clock in the training room. It is 7:06. We're a committee of 7 members, 6 are in attendance, 4 is a quorum. I declare we have a quorum, and therefore we're going to start our meeting. Want to start the meeting by indicating no irony intended, but the presentations this evening are from the Paxton Police Department and Paxton Fire and EMS Department, who were originally at this room scheduled at this time on this evening for training, and they were nice enough to redirect that training or reschedule it or certainly relocate it, so we thank both chiefs for that and all of your staff members for doing that as well. Chief, if you bear with us for 1 second, I think I'd like to address the meeting minutes of January 9th that were sent to everybody. And if there is a motion to accept and approve, I'm happy to entertain that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? None? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. They pass. So with that, Chief, we'll tee it up a little bit. You've submitted Capital Improvement Planning Committee request forms.
Yep.
You also have some material in terms of what your fleet of vehicles currently is.
Correct.
There were some other materials that we have in our possession. Everything that's been sent to me has been forwarded to the committee. We may show a lot, a some, or all of what it is that you've presented to us, but we'll just defer to you. The floor is yours, so go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time, putting me on your schedule today to present my capital request for this upcoming year. As some of you know that's been on capital for a little while, every 3 years I come before you to replace 3 of my cruisers. We do a 3-year lease where we trade in 3 and we purchase 3 new ones. We also do all our own upfitting here, one of the offices, which saves me a lot of money, and I can keep the cost down of purchasing a new cruiser, where most other departments are spending somewhere in the vicinity of $60,000 or $65,000 a car. And this year, I'm hoping to be able to purchase my cruisers for under $45,000. Could be less, depending on how much I get in trade for the ones I'm trading in. So, that being said, I'd like to just update you a little bit on where we have gone since 2019, when I was purchasing cars for $28,000 was the base car. That's no upfitting. They changed the body style in 2020. The cars rose from $28,000 to just over $33,000 for the car. Then we have to do upfitting. Upfitting can range anywhere from $20,000 to $23,000 for the equipment that goes in the cruisers. This year, we have gone from $33,000 the last time we bought our cars. Base cruisers right now are going for $45,473. So they have gone up $11,000 from the last time we purchased a car. That being said, you know, the way I do it, the program, how I run it with every 3 years, I'm able to save the town money, which we can get the most out of our cars and trade them in while they still have value. So that is pretty much where I'm at today. There has been rumors that cruisers are going to change body styles. It's been 5 years with this body style. If they change, all the equipment I have right now will not fit in a new car. Currently, I can transfer 90% of my equipment. So there's very little that I have to purchase on these new cars, meaning that most of the cost that I'm coming before capital for is for the cruiser itself. If we can, Heather, if you can switch to the estimate for 2025. Okay. So, from Colonial Municipal Group, they're on the state budget for purchasing cruisers. I had 3 cruisers I'm going to be trading in, a 2019, a 2020, and another 2020. They offered currently 20, almost 23,000.
22.5.
Yeah, which I'm hoping that I'll be able to use towards the purchase of my new cars. That's how I can keep the cost defrayed from the residents and keep the cost down to as low as possible. Right now, I have Detective Keller that still works for this department. He worked many years as an upfitter on cruisers, so he's very, very well versed in setting up our cars. And he does them for us. That saves us right there about $7,000 a car. So he's currently still employed. I don't know when retirement may take place for him. So I'm trying to capitalize this year to keep these costs down because I know money's tight everywhere. That's what I have pretty much for my cruisers.
Heather, can you go scroll to the top? So there's a couple of options. One is hybrid and one is gas engine, and it
Yes.
appears if you do the math, which you don't show here, but you do on your request, it looks like you're opting for the gas.
For the gas, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I gotta be honest with you, I don't know too much about the hybrids, and I'm not too keen on the idea of anything that's gonna be using batteries as a backup source when we have all of our equipment and lights in there. Plus safety, God forbid, if there's an accident, Mike can probably talk more about that. If there is an accident when it has to do with batteries, I know it's a safety issue also. So, you know, I'm definitely in favor of old school gas, and that's what we're running now, and that's what I'm hoping to stay with.
So I don't want to go down a rabbit
Yep.
hole. We're not going down, but if it was hybrid, where would you charge the vehicle?
It does both. I don't believe it's all hybrid. They can do both. So they have battery and they have a battery backup, sort of. So you don't have to kind of plug it in. It must go off the alternator. Is that correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's not a complete electric car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad we're not going there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is my presentation really for my cars.
Heather, can you show the capital improvement request? I might have a math quiz here for a minute, Chief, so
Okay.
bear with me.
Sure.
So- But I think you got reinforcements, so I think
Absolutely.
you're all set. So at the top of the page, it reads the Police Department cruiser leases. But then you go to box 2 and it says purchase.
Correct.
Help me out here. Which is it?
Well, there's no lease box. So we purchase it. Is that what you mean?
Well, so at the top, you're talking about Police Department cruisers.
Yes.
Forget the lease
Oh,
word
yeah.
at the top of the page.
All right.
No, I'm not instructing you, I'm
No,
just trying to
yep,
clarify.
yep.
So these are purchases.
We're leasing them, but yes, they purchase.
So lease with an option to purchase?
At the end-
At the end of the, okay,
Yeah, at the end of the 3-year lease, you buy them for $1.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much free.
so, okay. So lease with the option to purchase?
Yeah.
Got it. So now the math here is that you've got, in the far right per unit,
Mm-hmm.
it's about 44,865, a number you just used a minute ago.
Yeah.
And then you've got some installation costs,
Mm-hmm.
apparently 3,000 per per car.
Correct.
And then you've got some trade-in, which it's 17,000, I don't think we mean per unit.
No, that's for the three. I thought if you,
So it's 17 for the total of the three.
correct, and it should,
But I thought we were at 22 something you had.
that is today.
Okay.
You know, but I'm gonna be honest with you, that is gonna go down.
All right.
Because when they gave me those figures, we have to figure another year.
Right.
So I'm going low as I believe those will be, so that we're safe.
All right.
But that should be a safe figure, but that is for the three.
So the 22.5 was quoted back in September.
Correct.
We're 4 or 5 months later, so the trade-in value is going to go down.
It is, and they told me. Both of the places that I got the trade-in values, they told me that expect these to drop significantly because it's another year older, more miles.
Okay, and what's the expected acquisition date?
Well, if approved at the May meeting, I can pre-order and get them prior to July. Because with Ford, through the financing, they won't bill you until after July. However, they'll give you the cars so you can do your upfitting. But we can't do anything until, obviously, it gets approved at an
May.
annual town meeting.
Okay.
So, calling on our IT department here, Chief, the first slide that you put up was
Yep.
your vehicle inventory. Can we go back to that? Right there. So by the way, these are tough/friendly questions.
Sure.
Because this is a tough budget year, this is a tough process that this committee's got to go through, so I hope nobody takes any of our questions personally. So if I count those vehicles, there are 9 of them.
Correct.
So let me ask the question, how many are on staff on a given shift?
Well, when we can staff our department, when we're fully staffed, you're gonna have at least 4. Day shift, you could have 5.
Okay, so that now begs the question, help me out, why do we need 9 vehicles if we have 4 that are on, or 5 that are on shift?
Absolutely, and that's a good question. And the answer to that is because the way we do it, in best case scenario, which is usually how it can run, a car can get 8 hours off a day. Sometimes 16. Keeping, if you notice our miles, it's the ages. Our miles are very low. So that does 2 things. It gets us to maximize our warranties that we get when we purchase these. It also makes them worth a lot more when we trade them in, and it keeps our maintenance down. So our maintenance right now, thank God, now as we have these lower mileage cars, is the basic maintenance. We do oil changes, we do tires, and we do brakes. Pretty much that's about it, correct, Sarge? Because Sergeant Thorpe does all of our fleet maintenance. So anything big that happens with most of these cars are covered under factory warranty still. So the reason having this many, it allows them to take a break. Because if you noticed, you may have, I'm going to use I can't use the 20, or any of the Explorers up top. I can't tell you the idle hours on them because they don't allow me to. But if you look at any of these other ones, while we have hours or mileage that is low, we have a lot of idle hours. And idle hours is separate from your driving because obviously we sit on the side of the road and we observe traffic. If you have, 5,000 idle hours, an average is what they use is somewhere between 25 to 33 hours for every hour idling. So if you do the math and you got 5,000 idle hours, that engine and drivetrain, even though you may have 60 or 80,000 miles on the odometer, that engine has about 200,000 miles based on the idle hours. So by turning these things over like we do, it keeps a fresh fleet, maintenance costs down, we get a break, they're not going 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we have them now assigned to 2 to 3 a shift, 2 to 3 officers a car, I'm sorry. So we also can focus on which cars are doing more maintenance? Do we have to address other issues? Which, thank God, knock on wood, we don't, because we know who's driving every car, because they're assigned to it. So we've learned over the years that this method kind of works. While it may seem like there's a lot of cruises, we're doing okay. With the amount, there's a method behind it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's it.
So if the committee can bear with me, can I continue a couple more questions?
Sure.
So at the beginning, you said every 3 years.
Correct.
Don't want to take that away from you. It saves the money, the town money on the off years.
Yep.
But then it's a big nut on the third year. So if I look at 9 vehicles,
Yep.
somewhere, forgive me for not going right to it, somewhere I read 4 to 5 years of life.
Correct.
So I'm thinking if we have 9 vehicles and it's 4 to 5 years, why couldn't we do 2 a year rather than 3 a year, which is easier to digest, and go a step further and then morph into a plan where it's 1 a year so that we don't have, the big 3-year nut after 3 years on the event that one of those 3 years we can't do it. And if we couldn't do it for 1 vehicle, that's not as bad as not being able to do it for 3 vehicles. It's probably beyond where we're going to plan this evening, but I'm just thinking if 3 was not 3, this might be a little more palatable. So let me just end my questions. Up on the top,
Sure.
under purchase lease, it's got AMC there a number of times.
Correct.
Which we all know to be Anna Maria College.
Correct.
What does that mean?
They've paid for that car.
So they're picking up the full lease,
400%, yeah.
100% of 3 vehicles?
Yeah. 3 of those vehicles, all of our unmarked cars that this department has been purchased, and their leases are all up, so we don't owe anything on any of our cars. This year was the last payment on the ones we bought previously, so all our cars are paid for.
Yeah.
Anna Maria's are all paid for, and now what you get to do is, this year, in our proposal, one of those cars getting traded in was from Anna Maria. It's one of their cars, but it will go towards the town's trade-in.
So is it safe to say that they're footing the bill for 3?
Yep.
But that doesn't translate to there's 3 vehicles on campus at one time, does it?
No, there's 1 on campus. So the 3 are, this year, they bought it unmarked. Okay, so we distribute our unmarked on the lieutenant, myself, and the detectives. That's where our unmarks go. That's what they have purchased with the fleet we have. It could be sometime, it could be a marked unit that they buy. It just so happened that this year it was an unmarked, or the last purchase was an unmarked. So they did purchase 3 vehicles that are in this 9. There's 1 up at Anna Maria, the rest are utilized in town.
Okay, I'll give it a rest, good. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to follow up. When I look at your lines there, the first one is a 24 Ford Explorer.
Yep.
It says it's leased by Anna Maria. It doesn't say it's paid. So are we still, that's a year-old car.
It's paid off.
That's done.
They're all done, yeah. There's nothing owed on any of these. It's just how I thought I was asked how it was bought.
Okay.
So all these things that say lease for Anna Maria, they're all paid off. Nothing is owed. And the same with our town.
All right, so then,
Yep.
to follow up, if there are, just so I don't misquote or misspeak, 4 officers are on duty.
When we're fully staffed now.
All right.
We should have 4 on the majority of the time, on 3 to 11 and 11 to 7. That's to work Anna Maria and the town,
Okay.
not just the town.
Understood.
And then on days, there's days that there's 5 of us, when we used to have an SRO.
Okay, so are they traveling in pairs, or are they traveling individuals?
We very rarely double up. So we are out in our own cruises 90% of the time. The only time you may see somebody doubled up if they go get coffee or something like that, or if the roads are really bad, sometimes they'll double up. But no, we're out single-man cars.
So after hours, after business hours, evening and overnight.
Yep.
Is it better to have them travel together or be out in separate vehicles at different areas of town? I mean, our town isn't that large when you look at the surrounding communities.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just trying to get my mind wrapped around 4 vehicles being on the road when maybe we could do it with 2 and then 2 could be resting.
Well, do you want Paxton to be safe or not?
No, but Chief, as I said, it's just a
So,
question in terms of.
Well, you want officers out there. I want more bodies on the street. I don't want to take cruisers off the road and say I want to double up in a cruiser unless necessary. Don't get me wrong. If it's really bad out there, I don't want 4 cars out there because that's the likelihood of 4 accidents. But to take officers and make them double up so we save on a car, with this method, cars are getting breaks. And I don't want to say, okay, we're going to get less cars, and I'm going to put officers doubled up in a car, so now I don't have 3 or 4 officers driving around our town. What sometimes people forget is that we are Paxton, and we are located next to the city of Worcester. And that is a different animal than any other community that is not bordering Worcester. And Bill, I'm sure you could attest to that.
About the cars?
No, about bordering Worcester, being Paxton.
Yeah.
You want your officers up there. You don't want spillover coming up from the city of people looking to do mischief in our town. And the more officers you have out on the street, you deter crime.
Well, theoretically, that was always a theory that Holden had, that we could not have in Worcester. If you drove into Holden and you were, like say, a suspicious character,
Excuse me, Bill, can you,
they basically would find a reason, which was very easy to do, because everybody goes above the speed level, to pull you over. Once the word get out to the element, they said, stay out of Holden. Now, when we were well-staffed here, when you drive into Paxton, you better be going at 40 miles an hour, because there's a potential to be pulled over. And many times, when I would be driving down, I would see a cruiser pulled over, I would see a tow truck, cars being towed, and that's the most effective thing. The word gets out, this is not the town we're gonna go break into houses and do mischief. So that's the secret of policing. Proactive, highly visible, to get the job done. If you're reactive, you just take a call and you hide all day. Some police departments do that. But we had, in the past, we were not doing that when we had enough staff, from my observations and based on my experience. So I agree with the chief 100% on that.
And also, you brought up a point that I was going to touch on.
Right.
We don't know what we're going to run into,
No, no one does.
you know?
That's right. No,
So when
exactly.
you're doubled up, God forbid.
Well, you've had the experiences already.
Yeah.
Running around, guys with
Right.
guns, crashing into
Yeah,
cars, dead bodies.
Oh, yeah,
It's there.
it happens.
I used to teach at the academy in Boylston. I used to tell them, everything that happens in Worcester is coming to your town.
It's just less.
Exactly.
That's all.
Right.
But when you double up, you run the possibility that if that officer runs into something, now you got 2 guys that are out. They can't respond. So that car is tied up. I don't care if it's something, a DMV, where, disabled motor vehicle, I can have 2 guys tied up sometimes for hours. So that's really, there's numerous reasons why we don't do it. And as much as 1 is visibility, 2 is because the unknowns. It just, you're rolling the dice on if you're going to be able to break away. You can't break away. If I'm sitting next to the sergeant, we're stuck. If I go on a call, he's stuck with me. And even after hours, up until 2 or 3 o'clock
AM.
a.m., yeah, on the overnights, these guys are out there. And then after that, they're still out there, but they're checking businesses, they're doing business checks, they're shaking doors. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on that if you have 2 people that doubled up in a car, you're missing out on it. And the biggest thing, again, is visibility,
Okay, so.
no matter what time of
All
day.
right, during the day, there's 4 vehicles on the road.
at least.
Okay, and then first shift evening, say 3 to 11, 2, 3,
Nope,
4?
well, if we have 4 officers, okay, when we're full-staffed again, which we are not, when we're full-staffed, you're going to have 1 to 2 up at Anna Maria. If there's 2 up there, 1 can go out in town, in patrol town, and then usually you'll have a couple in town also. So you could have 3 cars on the road in town, and then you're going to have 1 up in Anna Maria.
Okay, and what
That's
about?
when we're full-staffed,
Right.
that's most of the time.
right, what about 11 to 7?
11 to 7 is the same staffing for the majority. The sergeant does the scheduling, so he can attest to that we usually do 3 to 4 days a week. We should have 4 on. And then we sometimes drop down to 3, depending on days off and stuff of that nature.
Okay.
Chief, while that schedule is up there, I couldn't make the perfect connection
Sure.
between this and the quotation trade-in. Which of those 3 are going to be traded in?
Currently, right now, we're going to be getting rid of the 2020 Explorer with 65,000 miles, just because that's one of our oldest one. And we're going to be getting rid of a 2019 with 89,000 miles, and we're getting rid of a 2020 with 80,000 miles. We're keeping the 2019 with 44,000 because that is a supervisor's car. So that's the reason that we're keeping it, really, is because it's the supervisor's car and it has the least miles.
Okay, so if we, and Heather just highlighted them, so that's perfect, Heather. The 2020 Ford Explorer, 65,000. Says AMC.
Yes.
So by deduction, my question is that one that AMC can pick up?
To use for them? To use for their cruiser purchase?
Well, they paid for the one we're trading in.
Yep.
Can they pay for the one that we're replacing it with?
They purchased one last year. So they go every 3 years with us. So Anna Maria picks up 1 car, the town picks up 3 every 3 years. So we trade in 4 cars.
I've got a question, Chief.
Yep,
I know when you trade in a car with low mileage, you're gonna get a discount.
yep.
When you buy in bulk, like 4 cars, is there a discount? No.
The prices are so outrageous right now. Like I said, in 19, we're paying $28,000.
Yeah.
Back then, thank God, I know I came to, I think you were on there then, Mark.
One other quick
Yeah.
question for the committee. They had this thing going some time ago about regional purchasing, all the towns. Whatever happened to that? It just disappeared? Never got off the ground?
I've never seen anything with the cruisers. They go by state bid, so you're pretty much everybody that you go to, you're paying the same price. You know, I went to 2 places, the 2 that usually sell most of the upfitting, their prices are within hundreds of dollars of one another because they go off a state bid themselves. It
Okay.
really depends on dock fees and stuff like that that sometimes offset the charge
When
cost.
you, like you said, you transfer your current equipment to a new cruiser, does that include the light bars? too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I cut costs with that. Thank God that the 2020 and the 2 2020s,
Pickup truck.
everything can transfer. The 2019, we're gonna have to do, I can't transfer cages and stuff like that because they just don't fit. So 2020 and up, all the equipment can transfer. So I'm saying if they change body styles, then we're back in the ballgame of that 45,000 could now be 65,000 for one. And, biggest thing, I know 3 sounds like, oh my God, we're getting 3 cars. We're getting 3 for the same price that we pay for, actually, I'm gonna get it for less than what we're gonna pay for just the car. But the thing is that, I've been in the town 28 years, and there was so many years that we were fighting for our cars, and we'd go sometimes 4 years without a cruiser. And that takes its toll on everything. Every cost goes up. We're putting guys out there in cars that they're just not safe. And right now, we have a great fleet in a program that fortunately has been proven to work. And we're buying cars for much less than every town that you're gonna find in this area. And I welcome anyone to call any agency you want, and ask them how much they're doing for a cruiser, and ask them if they're getting their cruisers fully set up for $41,000 to $44,000 today. And I guarantee that's not happening. Yep. So
Another question.
Yep.
Where do you buy the gas for the cruisers?
we go to Bill's Garage.
Where?
Bill's Garage
Now,
in Rutland.
we get a discount?
I would say we do. I don't fall into that, but I would assume that it goes under central purchasing.
We use the Wex card.
Yeah.
Which is,
Wex Bank, yeah.
Now, you can go other places, but that's where we fill up.
Okay.
Because we have keys, so that we can go there 24/7.
Oh,
When normal places would be closed, the night guy's gotta go fill up. So that, they work with us and they give us their key and they keep a pump on for us.
So
Chief-
Chief, Neil has a question, but before he asks
Yeah.
it, Heather, can you look for the grant schedule that was submitted? Maybe we can put that up. If you can leave the one that's there up, but if you can find that other one?
Now, that's why I got the sergeant here.
Yeah.
The sergeant is
We're gonna
the
give him his
Minister of
15 minutes of
Grants.
fame.
So,
In a couple of
he
minutes.
does them all, he'll be able to answer.
Can you enlighten me as to what the pickup truck does and why we have that with 6,000 miles on it?
Absolutely. The sergeant drives it. That thing-
Congratulations.
That thing serves multiple, kind of, helps us out with all of our speed signs. As you know, we move them all over town.
Yeah?
We throw them all in the back. We can go one time out and around. We have a speed trailer, tows the speed trailer. When we go to the drug lab and to the evidence lab that destroy evidence, we use that for all that. And seriously, that car was less than a cruiser.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that, but I guess if I'm looking at it, it's a 22, so it's
Yeah.
2 years plus old, and it's got 6,000 miles on it. so-
Took us a year to get to. So we really only had that a year. We ordered it in 22, we didn't get it in 23, correct? Yeah. So it took us almost a year to get that. So that car hasn't been out on the road
All
that
right, so
much.
if roughly 3,100 miles a year.
Yeah.
I mean, what did we do before we had a pickup truck? We went behind the vehicle, we tow it with something, or we'd borrow something from DPW,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
for a day or
And-
whatever?
And when you do, like, we weren't supposed to do this, but guys would take their personal cars to the drug lab. They'd load the truck up and stuff like that. It's pretty commonplace now, believe it or not, that towns have them, have at least one.
And what kind of replacement cycle is that on?
That's gonna stay. That is gonna stay.
Until it dies?
It's going to stay for at least another 5 or 6 years, yeah. With these costs, Neil, I can't imagine, I haven't checked, to be honest with you, what the cost of a pickup is, but it's kind of like the supervisor car that we have. It's going to age out before it miles out. We have a 19 supervisor car there that has the 40,000 miles. I'll keep that for another round, until next round, and then that will go, because the miles are so low. And the
Okay.
same thing will happen with that pickup truck. That could last us 8 years.
Okay.
And then it'll, again, the age will get you before the miles.
Okay, thank you.
So this, Heather, you can go to the grant schedule.
I will go to
This schedule right here,
Yep.
which doesn't have a heading, but it's got a lot of good information in it. And as you mentioned, Forrest had an awful lot to do with this. If you go to the bottom left, there's $273,000 worth of grants, which, by my calculation, 2017 through 2025 is on this schedule. If I have enough fingers, that's 9 years, so that's roughly $30,000 a year. That has helped the town budget in one form or another. The question that we beg is there a vehicle grant somewhere out there that can help your asks this evening?
I've looked, I've always looked. You can't buy any of these grants here, like the JAG grants that's here. Those are the ones that are more money at the bottom. It's equipment. It's not cruisers. Can't use it for cruisers.
Yeah.
I don't know of any for police cruisers. Now, I will tell you, the only thing that I know for cruisers is they give a rebate if you were a green community. And Heather, you could probably talk to that. But I think they'll give you, again, we're going back to hybrid now. If you were a green community and you're hybrid, you can get 10 grand. But to say that there's anything that I can purchase a cruiser, I don't know of any. And we keep up on grants. We put in for every grant that we see that we meet the criteria for. And I don't know of any yet.
When you listed equipment, though, not
Yep.
vehicles.
Correct.
If we had to get a body style change because, for
Yep.
whatever reason, can that equipment go in under one of these grants for the upfitting?
What you have to understand is sometimes these grants don't come out. Like if you look at the bottom here with the JAG grant,
Right, yep.
that's what a lot of our equipment goes for. And I will tell you that they're sometimes 2 years off. So what we did do under those JAG grants is we got our license plate readers that are on every car. That's how we acquired them over the years. So yes, it can. And that's what we have done. So not all of the stuff that goes into those cruises is town purchased. Our thermal images that are on the cruises, they're $4,000 for each one. Those came under a JAG grant. We bought one. The other 4 that are on the cruises came from the JAG grant. So we broke it up over, unfortunately, it came under a 4-year cycle on the JAG grant, and the same with the license plate readers. We purchased one in 2018 or 19. The other ones came under the JAG grant, so it was no cost to the town. And we try to get as much equipment as we can with those grants, but unfortunately, like anything else, you're limited. Now, I'll tell you, we cannot get any more speed signs for towns. A lot of those came under this, but because we have 4 or 5 of them, they will not allow us to get any more under the grant. We can't get any more handheld radars. It doesn't matter that some of ours are 7 or 8 years old, correct? Because they said we have too many? Yep. So a lot of the equipment, we're maxed out. So this year, if the grant comes out for the JAG grant, we're up for the MDTs, the laptops in the cars.
Okay.
So we'll be buying those.
Right, if, just by chance, the body style changes, just, what does that mean? The cages that go in the car?
Everything. Nothing
The
fits.
console, nothing fits on the
Nothing.
console?
Nothing.
All right, what is standard equipment that goes in an upfit?
I think you have, Heather, can you go to, yeah. Nope, yeah. It would be, I think, nope, let's keep going.
Here you go.
Nope, is there another one that I had from, did it not get sent over to you? Neil, I'll tell you, it's, I have it here.
Well, I'll just take,
It's 23, it's roughly about $23,000
per vehicle.
per vehicle. Now, the only thing that we can use out of that is, would be the laptop.
The actual computer,
Yeah.
not the
Not the
rack.
mount, not the bracket,
Right.
everything else. So if you take off, Sarge, what'd you say they were, about 2,800? For just the computer, so take about 2,800 off that, you'd be looking at, say 21,000 roughly.
All right, and you're buying 25 model year
Yep,
vehicles?
correct.
And we don't know yet if there's been
There isn't
there
for
is
this
not,
year.
right, okay, so we know that there
Yeah.
is not.
There isn't this year.
Next year, then? Okay, so we kind of have to plan. ahead.
Well, it's one of those things, you try to maximize, get as much as you can for your money, and plan for the future, because now next time we come around, there's probably gonna be a body change style, and 90% of our equipment is not gonna fit. The radio will, that's gonna transfer, but we don't buy new radios, that came through the,
Okay,
through the
all
grant,
right.
so yeah.
Heather, I got one more question on the grant schedule. And right there is perfect. If you recall, at the bottom, it was 273,000, 9 years, about 30,000 a year. Don't mean for a second to take away from the good results of that, but if you look, for 24 and 25, it's only been about 18 or 19,000.
Correct.
So the point to be asked is, have those grants dried up? Have we run the course?
They
Is
haven't
there
come out.
something else out there?
There isn't, they haven't come out.
It's 60% of the average.
Correct.
For the last 2 years, which speaks to the point that the other years have been even more robust. Again, I would submit to you, this is a very good story that I don't think you're telling well enough. Because maybe I've been asleep for a while, but this is the first time I've seen this. Heard about it, knew a little bit about it, but actually seeing it here, it tells a good story. And we're trying to find a way where we can maybe see something else coming down the pike, which softens the blow that we're got in front of us this evening. That's all.
I'd like to tell you that these would come out every year, like the JAG grant. JAG grant's the big one, and you can see it down bottom. Like in 2023, we ended up with a $40,000, JAG grant for technology. We also got the $20,000 municipal road grant. So that was a huge year for 2023.
So for those that can't read that, JAG is Justice Assistance Grant.
Yes.
So,
We're hoping it comes back out, but the federal government submitted it to the state put in for it with the feds, Now, once the state gets awarded, then they decide how they're gonna distribute it, and if it's gonna go for more body cams, who knows? They can break it up any way they want. But believe me, if it comes out, that's what's gonna purchase our laptops, because those are getting towards the end of life. They're 6 or 7 years old, so we'll get all those replaced if that grant comes out. So I try not to come to Capitol with really anything other than these cruisers. And that's kind of been our game plan, and that's kind of what we stuck to. Since I became chief in 18, you've really only seen me for cruisers. And I hope to stay that way, and we'll get everything else we can through grants.
Other members of the committee, any questions?
The regular upgrade of the cruisers sounds like a planned obsolescence approach by the industry.
It's, as far as,
Well, where they change the cruisers every
yeah,
so
of
many
course,
years.
it's money.
Yeah.
But look at the price difference.
Yeah.
Like I said, in 19, I came here and I asked for 3. That's when we first started doing this every, 3 for 3 years. And they were 28,000. And I said, okay, the next round, they're gonna go up 5,000, so if we get in now, we save that 5,000 plus the equipment transfers over. Well, one cycle further, it went up from 33,000 to 45, almost 46,000.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do. If you switch to a different, model, like a Chevy Tahoe, well, now you gotta add all the equipment. So you kinda, Ford knows what they're doing, and they corner the market. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
Any other
Any
questions?
further questions? Any final statements, Chief?
No, I just, I want to thank you again for taking the time to listen to this presentation. Believe me, the 3 cars, it's a track-proven program. I get money's tight, but what we save and what we get back, we're maximizing both ends for the trade, and we're maximizing, maintenance costs and everything else, and we also can use all the equipment. So I think it's a win-win, as long as, we can use that trade money appropriately and put it towards the purchase of these cars. Because that's the thing that I can knock off, 17 to 20,000 off the price. And that's a nice little perk to throw back to the residents. That is it.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it. Chief the Chief. Thank you, Forrest.
That's what you should want it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if HDMI is in one. Or is this-
Guess I'm not gonna see, up here.
There's nothing.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
So I'm gonna kind of cut to the chase and just,
What's the takeaway from this? You have a bigger budget than the police department?
no, not at all,
Or
not
you
at
have
all.
a color printer and they don't?
They do, don't let them fool you. Fool you. No, so I kind of want to just say hello, Mike Minitori, Fire Chief. So for FY '26, these are our 2 capital projects. And I'm going to kind of take you guys through them one by one here. So the first one up for replacement this year is Ambulance 1. It's a 2015 Ford F-550 Horton Type 1 Class 1 ambulance. It was purchased back in 2015. It was approved at the town meeting and went to ballot and approved a debt exclusion in 2015 for $210,000. About a week after the vote, we were awarded an Assistance to Firefighters grant for $142,500 to replace the truck. So that's when they were only awarding a certain amount of money per vehicle. Ambulances were only getting $142,000. That was the max. So out of the debt exclusion and the approval at town meeting, we only had to spend $92,000 of taxpayer money on the truck. And fortunately, that was a demo that we got from Horton and at Greenwood Fire Apparatus in North Attleboro. And we were able to take delivery of that truck that year in September of 15. Right now, currently, it's 10 years old. The major repairs are accumulating on the truck. One of the bigger issues we're having with it right now is body and paint corrosion. And with this truck, ever since we've had it, we have to do yearly battery replacements. So 2 batteries a year. They typically blow up at some point throughout the year because of the electrical draw on them and the charging system that runs them. Right now, last year, well, in 24, so not even a year ago, we had to replace the oil pan on the truck and the flywheel to the tune of around $3,500. And then just this week, the medication refrigerator failed, and that's going to be about an $800 replacement cost as well.
Chief, can you just elaborate on the body and paint corrosion
Yep.
issues? That's just, okay.
You're jumping ahead of me
No,
now.
I thought you were going to switch slides. That's why. before you
Yeah,
got on.
here we are.
Oh, all right.
So right now, on the box, you can see right above the wheel wells, we're starting to have corrosion. The box is aluminum. So once it starts to get up in between the paint and onto the aluminum, it's kind of hard to chase. You can see it on the hood as well. It's starting to come up underneath the pinch weld and around the back doors, around the door stops as well. These pictures are good. They're not great. We can always take a walk down and look at the truck. So those are the big issues with the body corrosion. The other issue we have with this truck is all the door handles are starting to fail. Horton does not make these same door handles anymore. So we've had to rely on our partners down at Worcester EMS because their older trucks had these door handles and they've stockpiled a few. So they're actually running low because of us, from what I'm being told, having to go
Are
down.
these, is that wheel well, is that on the,
That's on the box.
it's on the rear wheel versus
Yep.
the front? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Same, the hood, the other one, area body where the emblem is in the middle picture there, that's the front, that's the hood?
That's the hood, and then the rear door underneath the A in
Yep.
Paxton, yeah. And then you can see the trim pieces are starting to fall off in the back. That's the brand new oil pan underneath the truck because the old one warped and started leaking. It's, I guess, somewhat of a known issue with the Ford 6.7. And then the flywheel was also missing about half its teeth. So these trucks, unfortunately, the ambulances don't lead a very relaxed life. And then you can see corrosion up around the rear suspension along with the frame. We just had to replace sensors on either side of the rear suspension. It's what's called a liquid suspension. So it creates a smoother ride, but it's all liquid. And it has to be in there to dump the rear of the bodies on these trucks so you can get the cots in and out. And so that the truck, the suspension dumped on the crew while they're en route to the hospital. So there was no rear suspension, and they took a pretty good beating on the way to the hospital. And they brought it back, and the truck was riding like this, but it was out of service for about 2 weeks until we could get the sensors back in from Indiana for the suspension. In the back of the truck, you can see the medication fridge there. We have to have this on the truck because we carry Cardizem, and that has to be refrigerated at a certain temperature. And then you can see over the years, obviously, the grooves that the wheels for the stretcher have made into the floor. So you can see where the floor is actually opened up, creating an unsanitary environment in there underneath the wheels of the stretcher. The drawer latches were running into the same problem, obviously overuse, constant replacing. That drawer there will actually come open, if not secured all the way, en route to the hospital, kind of creating a dangerous situation for the techs working in the back. And then this truck's equipped with all touchpads, and we're starting to have touchpad failures, on the switches as well. So that's Ambulance 1. Any questions before I move on from Ambulance 1?
Cost to replace.
So the cost to replace Ambulance 1 is about $450,000. right now. So that's actually one of the lower prices on the Type 1 trucks. I'm getting prices back over 5, sometimes edging towards 6. And what's so poignant about the Type 1 ambulance for the town of Paxton, and I'll go back to the picture of it, it sits on this, a medium-duty truck chassis, 4-wheel drive, and it's a diesel engine with these trucks. Kind of important. We can't run gas trucks because we don't have a gas station in town. So the truck would have to physically leave town to get gas or get gas on the way back from the hospital. And a lot of times we get pinched coming back from the hospital and go on another call. The diesel's so much better because we have the availability at the DPW 24/7 for our crews. So that's kind of the big thing with us. And then the 4-wheel drive, well, we live in Paxton and we kind of need that, especially with an ambulance.
Chief,
Yeah.
have you looked at not a Type 1? I
The
don't-
Type 3?
Is that the one with like a small commercial frame, like a Kodiak, a GMC, or a Chevy?
Yeah, well, you
mean,
can't
it's a
get the Type 1.
heavier-duty frame.
It's a bigger truck, heavier duty frame. The prices on those are pretty expensive. There used to be a time where they were actually cheaper, that when Chevy had the Kodiaks. They have a heavy duty chassis again, and International runs it. Barry runs them right now, but they're a little too big for us.
In terms of mobility through town?
Mobility, turning radius, the whole 9, yeah. The Fords have been really good with us.
How many miles are on this one
This one right now is 78,000.
in 10 years?
10 years, but we have 2 trucks and we try to rotate them.
Okay.
So we kind of try and keep the mileage off that, just to make them last. So, but I will get into that in a second as well.
Chief, before
Yep.
you get off the ambulance,
Yep.
I don't see it on any of the slides there, but in a package you sent us last evening.
Yep,
Which has ambulance 1, there
Yep.
was some detail.
yep,
And then the one which, leaving that slide up there is perfectly fine right
Yep.
now. The one that's being replaced,
yep.
looks like it costs about $135,000.
The
It's $235,000.
$235,000 in
Sorry.
2015, yeah,
And 142 of that was with a grant,
was with a grant, yep,
and 82 went to town meeting.
yep.
And pardon my dropping a couple $100 here and there,
Yeah,
but
no.
the point's still out there. Is this subject to a grant, the new one that we're replacing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is something I'm going to get into in a second, because that is something that we're going to try heavily for.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why in a sec. So, moving on, and I'll get to the end of all the financing stuff at the end. The other thing that we're looking to replace, and I kind of wish the
Well, one
police
quick
chief.
question, Chief.
Yeah,
If you replace that Tahoe,
Yeah.
you're going to replace it with another Tahoe or something smaller?
something smaller.
Okay.
That's my plan, that's my goal.
Yeah.
We'll see, I got to work with the police chief on that.
Okay.
He's a tough cookie when it comes to his cars.
Do you want that pickup truck? Is that?
Well, they are gas hogs, let's face it.
Yes,
This
so-
didn't work, you're still on.
yeah, I know. So, the other project that we're kind of hoping to undertake this year is, this is the deputy chief's car. Right now, it's sitting out in the parking lot. The fire inspector's been using it because we have to keep it just for short trips and really non-emergency use. This is a 2010 Tahoe LT. It was acquired in 2016 for the then fire chief as his car. It replaced a 2006 Chevy Trailblazer, and it was purchased from the department's gift funds for $24,500 minus the trade-in. When we purchased this car used, it had 78,000 miles on it. We don't put the same type of mileage on our vehicles, our cruisers, like the police department does. So 78,000 miles has served us well. Right now, currently, it has 106,000, because when I was promoted, I had the black Tahoe, and the black Tahoe just kind of stayed with me. So this didn't become a daily driver, it just went to the deputy chief. It's 15 years old, and it's starting to add up in cost to maintain it. And one of these things is, it's nice that it's a vehicle that was a gift, didn't use taxpayer money to get it. Awesome, but when we maintain it, we got to use taxpayer money. And once we start hitting this threshold of constantly using taxpayer money to maintain this vehicle, the gift, it's starting to outweigh its useful life as a gift. We're starting to have a lot of the same issues that we had with a similar 2007 Tahoe some years ago. The frame's starting to rust a lot in critical points throughout the vehicle. The other thing too is we had to replace like the front control arms on it and stuff this past summer, along with we have to, actually needs a rear end, and we're kind of holding off on doing that. The differential's making all sorts of noise underneath the car. So you can see pictures underneath the car here. Various areas, the frame and body are rotting. We're trying to get as much life out of this thing as we can. A ton of wheel corrosion. We have to add air to the tires almost on a daily basis. And we have various warning indicators. It hasn't gotten to the point yet where it will completely fail an inspection. It'll still pass because nothing's through and through, although that door, as I'm looking at it now, looks like it's going to be through and through pretty soon. But it's getting close. And I don't want to keep dumping good money into a vehicle that's not worth keeping. So you can see those pictures. So what we want to do and how we want to fund these things, and I hope, I can get your support over the next few weeks is, well, ambulance one, like I said, it's about $450,000. I got a quote of $378,000. Then to add the stretcher and the load system is going to bring it up right around $450,000. I'd like to go in on a lease with this truck. We lease A2 right now. A2's leased on a 10-year lease. What we're doing, though, in that route is we're leasing and making the payment for the full life of the truck. The AAA, the American Ambulance Association, recommends every 5 to 7 years replacing. I would tend to agree with that. And with having two trucks, it allows us to keep those trucks for 10 years. Because 5 years of active duty, then we can kind of put it back. It can handle second calls, be a mechanical spare as needed. Works out well. So I wouldn't want to finance the whole thing over 10 years. Lower the finance, the better. Same with those police cruiser leases. It's $1 buyout at the end. So right now I got a price to finance the full $450,000, and it's just a ballpark because I can't do anything until things are signed and that stuff. It's about $79,000 per year. So with that, if we do this project, we need to get approval of town meeting to enter into a financing agreement, whether it's lease or going into debt with it. Using ambulance receipts, EMS funds per year, obviously, about $80,000 per year. It's about a 2.5 to almost 3 year build time on these right now. So if we sign the contract in May or June or July, we wouldn't see the truck until probably the last quarter of 2027. So right around November, December timeframe, 27, maybe early to second quarter 28, they're telling me, depending on how many orders come in between now
And that price is good at $450 for delivery in '27?
Yes, sir. Yep. They once we sign ink to paper, that price will be good. So 3 years down the road, we will have a truck. It will also come with the latest and greatest chassis. So if the Super Duty changes anything crazy, we're still guaranteed the latest and greatest chassis before it goes into construction. So probably be like a 27.
Good question. Chief
Yep.
talked about trading in a cruiser.
Yep,
So you get this ambulance. Are you allowed to trade those in against another ambulance?
absolutely. Here's the catch, though, with trading in an ambulance. So
Because some of
years-
these go 250,000 if they ship out of town.
So they don't. So the last ambulance we traded in, you ready? Sitting down for this?
22.
Was on A2, which is sitting down. It's a 2019. We got a 2020. We traded that truck in. They gave us $3,500 for the truck.
What is it?
It now sits down at Worcester Fire Department headquarters as their dive rescue truck. So we gave it away on pennies on the dollar. Similar truck was running right around. Buying it used was running around $25,000 to $30,000. So I would suggest we put it out to bid. That's one of the things I think we need to start doing. is putting these things out to bid because we're losing value on the trades. On my side, I can't speak for the police cruisers. On my side, we lose a lot of value on these trucks because there just isn't a market for these used things. No other fire department, unless you're going out to the Midwest, really wants, or an EMS service wants a used ambulance.
Chief, I don't
Yep.
want to take you away from
Nope.
your presentation because it's always so thorough. I don't want to get ahead of you,
That's okay.
but I don't want to lose this slide.
Yep,
For example, you're looking, for those that have fainted when you said 450,000, and now they see it. If you fund 79,000 through the ambulance receipts.
yep,
The footnote is, if we don't have an ambulance, we don't have ambulance receipts.
yep.
But a year ago, I don't want people to lose track of you put 400,000 into the operating budget. You did last year. I think it's been 330 and 375 and 400. It was 400 last year. I think 400 is planned this year. But last year, you also did 400 plus 61,000.
Yep, to buy the monitors and stuff.
So,
yep.
so my point is, why couldn't you do 479,000 this year?
That's what I'm looking to do. Yep, and that's
And we got a deal.
exactly it. That's exactly what I'm looking to do.
Ink to paper, let's do
Yep.
it, baby.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing. We're going to fund this 100% off that. And that's
Okay.
why we're doing leasing. So it doesn't require me to make the $450,000. So if we put ink to paper in May, it passes the town meeting. The taxpayer's like, yep, go ahead. It's not costing us a thing. We want to do this. We put ink to paper. We start taking that $79,000. We're putting it aside. So when the truck comes in 27, maybe early 28, we take the $237,000 that we put aside now, we put it down. We're only going to lease $250.
For
Roughly.
10 years.
No,
No, 5 years.
if we're only leasing $250, I would like to do it for 3
3 years. Okay.
and be done with it, right? Or we can borrow, type of thing, and the interest is generally lower. So the other good thing about this is in 2030, as you can see on one of the bullet points, the money we use to lease A2, the 2020 truck, will be freed up. We use $10,000 a year out of the Holden Hospital funds that go directly to the fire department for EMS. And we have a budget line item, if you remember in my budget, of $25,000 for lease. So that would actually free up around $33,000 that we spend now on that truck for a lease to also go to this truck. So it would really negate anything crazy. Or we can use that $25,000 in the budget for something else if we have to lease another truck at that point. But we kind of are in the good spot here. But my goal is to not use any taxpayer funds on this, but to use EMS.
But would A2 be replaced in 2030? Because you're replacing one in 25, so that's your 5-year, 5-year, 5-year?
Yep. But I'm expecting, because nothing's getting any better, that we'll have about a 3-year wait for another one.
Okay.
So we'll have a gap. And so if we put ink to paper in May, A1's not going anywhere. It's going to have to serve us until 28. That's why I kind of want to get ahead of this, because with 78,000 miles now, we'll have 100,000, and you can see the wear and tear of putting people in and out, slamming doors, getting in, going to the call, bad weather, that kind of stuff. So we got 3 more years of that on this truck, but if we can do it this year, we'll be ahead of the game when we're ready to go.
So Chief, can I just save myself, because I said ambulance receipts, we don't get them if we don't have an ambulance. I don't want to put that whole service on a finance or a capital
Yep.
platform. I understand that they're life-saving and public safety, and they're needed for all those other reasons, but this is a capital improvements planning
Yep.
committee, and I for those that look at it differently, I certainly respect that, and I don't want them to think I don't either. So I just want to save a few emails
Yeah.
tomorrow, so.
No, that's okay.
Chief, has it always taken 3 years to get a ambulance bill?
No.
Okay.
No, it's honestly, an ambulance was so much quicker than a fire truck. Like, a lot of times you could just go to the lot and there would be a demo. They would bring in 4 or 5 demos, each dealer, because they moved quick. And if you had one custom built, which we did in 2019, the A2 to match A1, that was only a 180-day turnaround, right? Now, 875 to 900 days on this. It's just the orders are just stacked up.
Are there any demos that, I mean, you lucked out with the one in 15 as a demo. So
There could be, but those are getting clawed as soon as they hit. So
And are
funny
you
'cause
staying with Horton? Is A2 a Horton?
I don't think so. Both trucks we have now are Hortons.
Hortons.
But I think we're going to go with PL Custom.
Okay. They're out of what, Springfield? West Springfield?
No, they're out of
Rhode
North
Island?
Haven.
Okay.
NEFA, yeah.
Okay.
We've looked at a couple right now. PL is it's a quality truck for not as much money as Horton or Lifeline or one of the higher end
Okay.
models. Yeah, yeah. Rutland has one. Princeton has one. They both swear by them. So, so car two. So what we'd like to do with car two, and we actually did this a couple of years ago with the inspector's vehicle. We'd like to take one of the police department's trades. I've talked to the chief, he's not opposed to it, as long as car two goes in its place. And just like the police department, we do all our upfitting, so they would pull their blue lights and everything and radios out of that, and we would put all our red lights and everything in it, scrape off the police department, and we would be good to go. And one of the big reasons for that is, like I said, when we bought car two, we bought it 78,000 miles, the Tahoe. It's essentially what would be getting from the police department, but it's a police cruiser. It's way more durable than car two. So that Tahoe we had, the red one, has a sunroof, has leather interior. It's made for the consumer. It is not made for the firefighter, getting in and out of it with gear on, staying in it for cold, rainy weather. It doesn't stand up to the everyday rigors. We're finding that the police cruisers, even though they're used and abused by the police department, these guys do a really good job of taking care of them, and we can kind of slide right into them, and we know they're going to take the abuse that we dish out. Now, we don't dish out much, but it's just a much more user-friendly public safety vehicle than going to the used car lot or the down in Lamoureux or no, I can't say Sunnyside anymore. And grabbing an SUV. Those SUVs are your consumer grade. They break a bit easier. There's more electronics, more things to crack and destroy. The police cruisers, they're firefighter proof. I hate to say it. We're not going to break
Which one are you looking at here? His Explorer?
one of the Explorers. Yeah.
Explorers with 65,000 miles on it.
Yeah, I think maybe a 19 or something, but we were in preliminary talks about it. So it worked well in 2022. And then we took, that one has been great to us. And, we would take car two and trade it in place of one of theirs.
What do you think the trade-in value is of car two?
Probably 3,000 to 5,000, or I could put it out to bid,
Here you go.
if I'm lucky.
no.
Yeah.
But
No, I know what you're saying.
just for me
apples
to
apples.
clarify, he's
Yeah.
going to trade in three.
Yep.
But instead, he's going to give you one, you're going to give him the
Trade.
command car. He's still going to trade in three.
Yep.
But one of them is markedly reduced in terms of value.
And it's red.
And it's red.
Red.
It's leather interior. You might like it. Keep
Yeah.
it. I don't know.
It-
But we can also put it out to bid, too. That's the other thing.
Now, can you explain the need for car two? I was reading your
Oh, my, yeah.
profile here. That
Yeah. I also have a letter up front, too. that
yeah,
I can
that's
get
what
out
I
to-
was.
yeah.
Okay.
So car two is our secondary command vehicle. The deputy chief uses it, so he fills in with me, for me, does everything that I generally do after hours. He responds directly to the scene a lot. If I'm in meetings or classes or professional development kind of stuff, he's around to fill in the blanks. So he takes the car home. Most of the time it sits in his driveway when he gets home from work, or he actually works from home. He responds to calls in that car. He's able to establish command. He has radios in there for support, safety. He does all the accountability as well. So it's really a huge car. The other thing too is it's also a backup to my car and a backup to the inspector's car. So if he goes on vacation or away for business, the car comes up here and we can use it to go to class and stuff like that. Yep.
So just, if I wrote some numbers here, you said the current car 2 has about 106,000 miles on
Yep.
it. And when you acquired it, it had 78,000 miles on it.
Yep.
That's roughly 28,000 miles. And you've had it for 8 years?
Yep.
You got it in 16, so
Yep.
that's 3,500 miles a year.
Yeah, we don't,
And so that's not a lot of use.
most of those miles got put on
In town,
before I became chief, yeah.
you were driving it.
No, the former chief was. Yeah, so.
Oh, it was his car?
Yeah,
not
yeah,
you as
not
C-
mine, nope.
Not you as C2?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Weird thing is, then he got car 1,
Right.
and you got car 2.
Yeah, so I had the black Tahoe, the frame broke, we went to reserve, that whole nine. And I got the newer Tahoe as deputy chief, and then he kept the red Tahoe. 'cause
Got
he's
it.
been-
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep. So that's kind of the plan. You know, it's cheap, it saves the town money, I don't have to go out, look for a car and do that kind of stuff, so. Yep. Any other questions on that, or?
Yeah.
And if you want to see anything else as far as maintenance budget, we can pull that stuff up too. Everything should be in your packet. I put a little more info than I sent over to you last night.
You mean the one you sent at 10:38 last night?
I've been a busy man, Mark, yeah.
Well,
I apologize.
Hey, but the committee got it at 10:43.
Good,
so,
good, good. Yeah, yeah, it's been busy, so, yeah, excellent. So, no other questions? If you do, feel free to reach me. If anybody, I'm gonna stay for a little bit. If anybody wants to go down and see the equipment, I will take you through and tour and do all that stuff.
Okay.
So I have a question, and maybe it's been resolved. There was a capital request in the package that was first sent out,
For the defibs.
and it had to do with AEDs.
Yep.
And of course, my question is, a month or so ago, the select board voted to expend the remaining funds of opera, of which
Yep.
a good amount went to AEDs. Is that off the table now for capital? Is that,
Right now, so we were able to cover 8 AEDs out of the 12.
yeah, okay.
So the remaining 4 we'll piece together throughout the year where we can. We have, those have been ordered as in the middle of December. I think I sent you the PO. They told me about a 4-week turnaround, so I should really see them about any day now and get those into service. Yep. Those were quick.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's good to know we were looking at dated information, so,
Yeah, no, I apologize for not
no,
getting that done.
well, good.
All right.
Just
Yeah.
on this capital request list, I see replacement car 224. It shows 3,000 negative, because you're going to work this thing with the police
Yeah,
department, so.
yeah,
you're
so I figured
we're
3,000
actually-
in a trade or
Okay.
a sale, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Thank
So
you.
we got a little bit of math to do in terms of revisiting the police trade-in, so.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So, all right.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
No, good presentation. Thanks.
Yes, that was excellent.
Thank you.
If you got any questions on anything in here, or let me know.
Okay.
So, good presentations, good information.
Yep.
None of which needs to be decided this evening. And Heather, if I'm not mistaken, next Thursday, we have DPW, Wachusett Regional School in the library.
Yes, I have not extended the invite to the library. I will do that. But otherwise, I confirmed with the school this week, they are going to be sending Mark Weil, the facilities person, the superintendent. Jim Riley will be here, and they're going to invite the acting principal or interim principal, which is Katie, whose last name will be corrected for next week.
So
She's very lovely. I just
I'm
don't know.
going
her
to
last-
let you quarterback who goes first, and whoever goes second should not necessarily be here right at 7 o'clock. I would say that,
Why don't we do the school first, because they have a lot of people, and
Yeah.
then That way, Travis can just jump in when ready.
We're fine with the order, and thank you for scheduling that, and we'll defer to your invitation to the library to take place as well. So, super. So the other thing on our agenda, which I don't think, you may disagree, but I'm going to suggest that we not vote or resolve this evening, but you have latest update regarding proposed amendments to the bylaws. What I've sent to you is the proposal, and this will be the committee's bylaws when they're resolved. I just led with my chin and said, these are my suggestions. Not looking for blame or credit, but just that's where it originated from. I think that there's going to be, and I've done this before with committees, some of you are going to get really into the weeds and others not so much. But Heather, I do need you to know that part of my motivation in terms of altering the membership or suggesting altering the membership a little bit as it relates to you is I found at least one meeting, and it's not your job for those of you those out there that are going to say it is, it's not. You are in a tough spot to decide between a police cruiser and a dump truck. And we want to take your advice regarding which of those two, but I think you should be relieved of having to pick one or the other, and that's why I did the ex officio item. Then I went on to say that it's a issue I think that we've experienced here and in other committees as well, that having a paid employee or department head on this committee could potentially, taking personalities out of it, could lead to a difficult position. So we welcome the membership, but we wanted to eliminate the DPW department head or one of the chiefs or something of that nature from being on the committee. So that was the motivation there. However, in it, I say that no department head or no paid employee, of which you're a department head and you're a paid employee. So it needs a little wordsmithing, but I just need you to know the backdrop as to what the thinking was, and maybe you can, because you did a nice job polishing up the finance committee for us as we went through that particular process. And having said that, would certainly welcome any of the other comments that any other committee members might have to either share with me one way or another. I think email is a good one, and you want to share with other committee members. You need to be careful because of open meeting law violations, but even though I took the lead, I don't want to take control. I just want to put it out there for other members to weigh in. Heather, you look like you want to.
I was just going to clarify to make sure that I understood you correctly, that you'd like me to pull out my red pen for that document. Is that what you invited me to do?
Yeah,
With certain
reservation.
qualifications.
So
Said-
I'll put in track changes, I'll give it a workup, and I'll send it back to you.
Red pen, not red hatchet.
Well,
There's a
I'll do my
difference.
best.
Okay.
Well, that's where we have that.
I don't think
AI.
there's any bleeding ink on the, what do you
Chat-
call it?
chat-
Track changes.
GPT will handle that whole thing. That's
There you
it.
go.
Just tell it what you want.
But one of the other things that got added, and by the way, if you take a look at the old bylaws,
Existing.
ours, this is a market improvement from what we've been operating under. So I want you to take that into account. But one of the other things we added is exactly what the chief did this evening. And that is that if there's going to be a capital asset that's going to be acquired that doesn't have to be in our report and doesn't have to go to town meeting, it used to be that it never came to us. And that could disrupt some of the other planning that we may have to do with other departments, or a truck, or a cruiser, or the like. So I think, Chief, you might be ahead of your time, but you did exactly what we're asking you to do. If you're gonna buy a command car from gifts and donations, that's your prerogative, because you control it, but we wanna know about it. And in the past, there was no obligation that had to take place. And I think that's a good policy and a good practice. So, that's the thinking behind it, so. I liked it more than I didn't, but I'll await the town administrator's editing skills, so. And I didn't codify them because I knew there'd be changes, but I think if you look at the way they're presented versus the one blob on one piece of paper, which looks like one big, single paragraph, these are much better. And they were fashioned after the amendment process that the Finance Committee went through a year and a half ago, and a lot of people weighed in, and the end result, we had a good product, and hoping that same will be true here, so. So with that,
Next Thursday.
any old business,
We're just coming for next Thursday. Get it on the.
new business?
None.
Can I save holding my breath and just get a vote? How many are planning on attending next Thursday?
I'll be here.
Aye.
Okay, so at least 6 of us, and we'll
I just
certainly,
have one question, maybe you can answer it. If and when they build that new DPW building or complex, are they considering putting in our own gas tank there so that we can service our vehicles at the DPW, buy in bulk cheaper? And what they do, each person that has use of a vehicle gets a gas card, and then they just put the card in and they get the gas. They don't have to drive all over, negotiate prices.
There's been, it's been touched on lightly, but there's so much bigger issues
Bigger,
that they're, and I don't know if you know, we're renovating the snack shack at the ball field as the office and meeting room place for the DPW. So
The
that's
one
the
one
focus right
thing
now.
about gasoline during a disaster, once the power goes out, you cannot use a generator at a public gas station to pump gas. So if you're buying your gas at a gas station, if they want to break the law and pump your gas, all right. Well, if you get a declaration of emergency, you might get a waiver. But the guy at the gas station has to go along with that. So it's a little complex. If you have your own, you pump the gas. Just throw that out there, that's all, okay?
Well, isn't that what we're doing with diesel right now? I mean, we pump our own diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's better that way.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, abstentions? None? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Hour and a half.